Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back to Forced Strategy Gaming. Today we're going to be taking a look at the runestone system in Diablo 3. Now, recently there was a segment of different clips showcasing how runestones affect different spells for each of the 5 classes, and I figured this was a perfect opportunity to spend some time talking a little in depth about the runestone system and how it's going to work in the game. So the first question, of course, is going to be, what are runestones? Well, what runestones are is they're just little items that you're going to find in the world of the game. And by themselves, they're not going to do anything. They have no function. But what's going to happen is once you slot them into your different spells and abilities, they're going to alter the way those spells work. That's a really cool, really awesome idea and a thought, and I just think this mechanic is phenomenal. So let's just talk about it a little bit further. What does this mean in particular? Well, in Diablo 3, each character has up to, it's over 20 skills available to him. I think the range is between 20 and 30. That's what we're currently looking at. But out of those 20 plus skills, you can only have 7 active at a time. So the thought's going to be, well, that's not a lot of choice. That's not a lot of variation. But those skills, when runes are placed in them, can function completely differently. So there are 5 runestones in the game: this Crimson, Indigo, Obsidian, Golden, and Alabaster. And again, you take a rune that you find, you put it into a slot, and it's going to completely change the function of that spell. Now, there's going to be, when you mouse over these, you're going to see what they would change before you actually put it in. And something else that is important to note is that they are changeable. You don't necessarily lose it or sacrifice it by putting it into a skill. You are able to remove them and then use them on a different skill. So if you had a Crimson rune to one of your skills and you decide it'd be better suited for something else, you can just take it out, put it in that skill instead, and put a new skill in whatever one the Crimson one was initially in. So just take a quick look at some examples. You take the Ray of Frost ability of the Wizard. You add a Crimson rune to it, and it's going to increase the damage the longer it is in use to a cap. So then all of a sudden Ray of Frost becomes a lot like that Disintegrate spell. But you add an Indigo rune to Ray of Frost, and it surrounds the Wizard in a swirling vortex of sleet, which damages foes that come into contact with it. So all of a sudden it's a close range AoE ability. You put an Obsidian rune into Ray of Frost, and then it decreases the beam damage, but increases the amount of snare, the reduction to the target's movement and attack speed. Add a Golden rune, Ray of Frost, the arcane power cost is reduced. This turns Ray of Frost into a much more spammable spell. You're not going to run out of your resources nearly as quickly. Add an Alabaster rune, and enemies slain by Ray of Frost have a chance to leave an area of ice on the ground where they die, and then it damages other enemies if they move through it. So as you can see, you can take this initial spell, Ray of Frost, and depending on which of the 5 runes you put into it, it's going to work completely differently. Really exciting, really awesome stuff. Now in terms of the runes themselves, also realize that there are 7 different levels of runes. So you have your initial level of a Crimson rune, and then there's going to be 6 more above that. And with each successive increase in level, the runes become that much more effective, that much more powerful. So it's one of those things to strive for, just like how there are varying levels of gems, there are going to be varying levels of runes. Now in terms of how you acquire the runes, it's going to be part of the random loot table of Diablo 3. So runes are going to be dropped within the game, just like the normal loots. In terms of scarcity, we're not 100% sure how the scarcity is going to look, if there's going to be some runes are going to be more difficult to find than others. But again, realize there are of course going to be those 7 levels of increasing quality and rarity. I would imagine of course that the highest level is going to be much more scarce than the lowest level. I guess you could say rank 1 Crimson rune is going to be much easier to find than a rank 7 Crimson rune. But that about does it. That's a basic wrap-up of the runestone system, so hopefully this helped clarify a few questions that you guys may have had. And yeah, that about does it. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching the content. If you do enjoy it, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.